right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 147. This is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. Before we get on with the show, I'd like to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and visit us on Twitter and Tumblr. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. And as always, you can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share this show with your friends and be sure to leave comments and rate the podcast as you see fit. How you doing today, Jake?
Doing all right. A little tired, but it's been an okay day, I suppose. I finally got central air installed in my house, so I'm not sweating my dick off anymore, just sitting in my house.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Costs a small fortune, but I think it'll be worth it.
In the long run, probably, yes. Yeah, my AC's been on for quite a while this week. For anyone who doesn't know, we've had a heat streak through Pennsylvania and a lot of the country, actually. And dude, I'm really nervous to look at my electric bill for this month. I'm going to be honest.
I'm sure it's not going to be as low as you'd like.
No, correct. Well, as always, Jake, let's talk about games that we're playing this week. I know you pulled the trigger on Ghost of Tsushima. You've been playing that a little bit, and I'm going to be honest with you. I went and bought it myself. So I'm a little bit into that game. I'm also, I need to get back to Moss VR, and I need to finish the last episode of Life is Strange Season 2 before I forget about all of that stuff. But are you playing anything outside of Ghost of Tsushima right now?
I think I mentioned last week a little bit. I was playing some Super Nintendo, but I haven't really played a whole lot of that. I played a little bit more Hot Shots Golf on my Vita, just kind of chilling around the house, trying to get some use out of my Vita because it hasn't really seen much action the past couple of years.
Good.
Mostly, yeah, just playing Ghosts of Tsushima or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Shima, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It sounds like when you play the game, though, the Japanese people, I think, pronounce it Tsushima, which sounds a little bit more in keeping with the language, but I don't. I mean, you're asking someone who has no idea how to speak Japanese or even speak a Japanese accent.
Yeah, but I probably can't pronounce most of the cities over there. So,
but other than that, yeah, that's been pretty much the main kind of focus of my gaming recently.
Any initial impressions that you want to share with us that are spoiler free?
How far have you gotten in it?
Well, spoiler free, I have played the intro and I have played I did play one or two of I think are side missions. I found one fox and that's really about it. I have the bow.
Okay, so you did get that far. Okay, so I'm probably maybe an hour or two farther than you maybe, but not hardly at all. I mean, it's there's some interesting stuff about it. Like there is fast travel, but it's not like other games where you can like fast travel to pretty much anywhere that you like Skyrim, for example. Any place that you find on the map, you can fast travel to. It doesn't really matter what it is. If it's a cave, a town, a shrine, or whatever, you can fast travel to it. In this game, I believe you can only fast travel to villages. Okay. So they're kind of few and far between. And there's a lot of one of the things I actually really like about it is the guiding wind thing. Like instead of having like a fucking arrow on your map or like some other kind of just totally game breaking navigation scheme, right? Yeah. Or like a compass or something. They have this, samurai thing where it's like the wind guides you and it like you can.
Sorry, I was going to say, I got the impression that the wind is actually your ancestors like guiding you.
Yeah. They kind of imply that at the beginning of the game when you play through a specific sequence. Whenever I won't spoil anything because there's a story element to it, but it's like there's a part where I think Jin,
who's the main character,
I think he he like asks his dead father for guidance or something like that, and then the wind blows, and it like introduces you to like the concept of the guiding wind,
which is pretty sweet, actually.
It works awesome, and one of my favorite things about it is that it not only does it tell you where you need to go, but it also adds so much to the atmosphere of the game whenever like the wind is blowing and you're like riding along and it's making like your cape blow or whatever, if you're wearing flowing robes or whatever, or like all the particle effects like leaves or bugs or whatever are all blowing in the trees,
lightning
and grass
bugs.
And I would have to say that like, and I think I said this to you on Saturday when we had that gig, that there's a lot about The Last of Us Part 2 that I would say that like The Last of Us Part 2 is probably technically, graphically speaking, probably the best graphics on the PS4. However, I think that there is an aspect of Ghost of Tsushima in the way that it looks that it is just, to me, it is much more beautiful. Because they do
100%.
a lot more with the color palette.
The art direction.
They do a lot more with like the wind and the particle effects. And I think I also told you that, like, because you said the lighting is incredible in this game. You said something to me like, is it kind of like, is the atmosphere kind of like The Witcher? And I was like, yeah, it's a lot like that. You get these really, like, you'll be riding around and all of a sudden, like, the sun will just hit that point, and it reflects off all the clouds, and you just get this awesome sunset or this crazy, like, moonlit kind of thing going on if you're riding around at night, or storms happen, which get kind of crazy. I've been kind of digging a little bit into it, trying to figure out there's a lot to it without there being a lot to it. I don't really know everything about the RPG
game
elements
itself
of it. Yeah. Because I'm only probably maybe 3 hours into it.
I like that it's story heavy. It seems story heavy for an open world game.
It does this interesting thing where, I don't know if you noticed this, where like, at the beginning you go and they'll be like, when it first opens up, you have the option to go
one of two
recruit
places,
these
right?
people, right? And they're like main missions, right? And once you go recruit them, that first mission you do for them is part of the main storyline. But then after that, you can do all these other missions for them that are called like the Tale of, and it's that person's name. Did you notice this?
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's this person that, like you're talking about where you get the bow, right? There's a guy that you meet, and he's the one that introduces you to the bow, and he played some role in your past or the past of your community on Tsushima Island. And when you interact with him and you do the first mission, he's like, I agree to help you. But then he's like, I want you to like help me with this task of mine. And there's a series of, I think, like 7 to 9 missions that are all part of this like tale of archery guy. You know what I mean? I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But
so it's like mini stories.
Yeah. So it's like, then you get like this story along with this character that you meet who happens to have, and like, as you're doing these quests with them, they like comment on your past and like your family and all this kind of stuff. And it fills in like the history of the island in a very interesting way where you're like playing it out. I do get this is partially because I have I get really anxious about, games taking a long time nowadays, but like I get this now. I've got this really like anxiety inducing kind of thing going on where I've done the first couple missions for this guy, and it's like my brain is broken. It's like, should I complete his entire quest line, or should I go do some of the other like main story arcs, like find the other dudes that, they want you to find or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, because the completionist side of me is like, I should just stick on this one quest line until it's done, like I used to do with The Witcher, and then move on to the next one. But I'm like, but there's like 9 fucking missions. It's not like, a couple missions and it's over like The Witcher was. It's like, we're talking probably a good couple hours of gameplay to get all the way through this guy's story arc. And then I can move on to the next main story beat. And so I'm trying to decide how much of a completionist I want to be. I'd like to at least extract everything I can out of the main, what I'll call the main side quests, which are like these tales of story arcs. I may not do all of I'll probably end up doing all of them, but like I might sacrifice some of the side quests that are a little bit less impactful, like the ones that you get from just random people. I don't know if you've gotten any of these yet.
I don't know. But I'm still kind of confused with the way the game works.
So like you'll be walking around and there'll just be a random person, whether it's in a town or like you meet them on the road or something like that. And they'll get like a little speech bubble on them. And you can talk to them and they'll be like, we were running away from, the Mongols took over this bridge that we like to use. And then, Jin being a samurai is like, oh, I'll take care of it. And so like, it's just like your generic Western RPG side quest.
Yeah.
The thing that is kind of cool about a lot of this game though is, and I mentioned this over the weekend, is that I'm not a huge samurai fan. Like I've never really been, I always thought the samurai aesthetic was really cool, but I never like watched samurai movies or, really dug that deep into the culture, because while I always thought the concept of samurai was really cool, I always thought that it's all very, rigid. Like their philosophy and their temperament is all very rigid, like emotionless kind of thing.
Right.
And so like it's a lot harder to play up that like character dynamic whenever your character is like control your emotions. And like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like,
they have a flat affect almost, like they're
right.
They're resolute and they're just one way.
And it seems like they're starting this game that way, but they're going to crack that open with the main character. I get a feeling like they're not going to drive that home for 30 hours because it'll make the character extremely boring. And you've already seen it kind of happen a little bit in the first couple hours. But anyway, what I was getting at is like these traditional like Western RPG side quests, they have some like flavor to them that I'm not used to because, I've never, like, the samurai aspect of it is very new. Like I know that recently there have been games that have adopted it, like Nioh, for example, and Sekiro. But Nioh and Sekiro are both kind of Souls-like games that I have no interest in playing.
All right, so we just had an audio glitch and we lost a little bit of the podcast. We're going to try to continue where we left off. Jake, you were talking about how there have been other samurai games, but this is a little more fresh for you because you're not familiar with the samurai thing?
No, well, I was saying that, Sekiro and Nioh did it recently. They did the samurai thing, so it's not completely undone recently, but I didn't play Sekiro at all, and I only played Nioh a little bit because those games are, Nioh was fun, but they're just hard. They're like Souls-like. They're Soulsborne games. They're very difficult, and they're not really that accessible. So playing this game where it's like a heavy story-driven game as opposed to those games, which are not, they're more gameplay driven. I, really enjoy, so far I'm kind of enjoying like the reason why I was bringing those games up is because, you've got these generic Western RPG side quests like save the damsel, go liberate this bridge, go do whatever the fuck. But they've got this flair to them because they're wrapped in this samurai shell, this, feudal Japan kind of shell that makes it a little bit more interesting. I don't know. I think that's all that I was really saying about it.
Man, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I was going to say, I've been playing this game. What I like about Ghost of Tsushima so far is that it's not easy, but it's also not really difficult. I had struggle with the bow mission. The first bow mission, I had a lot of trouble with that.
Where I really struggled with this morning, I was playing it and so there are like these outpost kind of things, like in many other Western RPGs like Far Cry and stuff. Yeah. They're not called outposts. They're like little towns or whatever that have been taken over by the Mongols, and you can like liberate them. And there's usually a leader there, and you have the ability to like learn new fighting stances and that kind of stuff if you kill these leaders or observe them.
You have to kill so many, right? And you slowly level up your
for each stance. You have to kill so many. Or one of the things you could do, and I didn't realize this until like I played with it a little bit, is that if you sneak up on a leader before you kill them, you have the opportunity to hold down R2 to observe them because they're usually doing some sort of like practice with their sword.
Oh, and I didn't know that.
And that'll give you an extra point towards your next stance. So if you observe them and then kill
And
the
then
shit out
kill
of them, you get 2 points as opposed to just 1.
Wow, that's a pro tip there. Good.
Yeah, so make sure you do that. Yeah, I really struggled with that this morning because I kept facing these guys. I don't know if you faced any of the guys with like the big mallets, like the heavy duty dudes. They're kind of tough because they don't, you dodge and then they don't like react whenever you cut the shit out of them. So you end up having to like dodge, cut them once or twice, dodge, cut them once or twice, dodge. Otherwise, they just like pound the shit out of you.
Do you have dodge roll unlocked yet? Do you have the dodge roll?
You're saying?
Like where you double click circle, you'll roll instead of just dodge?
I have the ability to unlock it, but I haven't unlocked it yet. I was going to say I have this problem with a lot of Western RPGs where they expose you to like this skill tree where there's a million fucking things you can spend your skill points on, but it's like I have no idea yet how I'm going to like playing this game. So I don't know if I want to put my skill points into this fighting stance or the bow, or if I want to put it into, these exploration things or whatever. So like I'm finding myself just hoarding the fucking skill points until I realize the way that I actually enjoy playing the game. And then I'll spend all of my skill points in one fucking tree as opposed to just spreading them all out and then regretting spending them on these trees that I'll never use because they haven't really told us yet if you're going to be able to like buy back any of your points and reallocate them or anything. Some games will do that, but they haven't said that you can in this one yet.
Yeah. Well, the thing that would concern me about doing that would be a lot to take on from like no skills to have to learning like 4 or 5 skills and learn how they work. I like slowly mastering them. So yeah, I'm just kind of going with whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of putting my points into a little bit more of the exploratory stuff, like the shit that like the guiding wind will take you to the fucking shrine place. And then if you go here, you can unlock charms, or the wind will take you to the spas. And then you go to the hot springs and you can get extra maximum health. Like I've been trying to do this shit like that where it can generically improve your character. Yeah. And then, unless I see a skill, like, dude, I don't know how you feel about it, but that fucking, I'm more of like a ninjutsu kind of player where I prefer to like hunt in the shadows and stuff because it's just, to me, it's easier to do. Mm-hmm. But man, doing the fucking standoff thing and just chopping someone down with one hit is one of the fucking coolest things.
Yeah, I like how they implement it too. Yeah,
and you can upgrade that to allow you to do it like 2 or 3 times in a row. So like you can get 3 guys with a single hit before you have to end up truly engaging the enemy, which to me sounds awesome. I might upgrade that kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, something like that sounds really interesting. I like how it works. Like if you just hold down the triangle and you wait for your enemy to take the first swing. And then when you let go, you have to let go before they hit you, and then you can successfully strike them.
But so one of the things I wanted to ask you about is like, do you like, I haven't gotten to a point yet where I've unlocked any new weapons or anything like that, but I can't figure out if there's some kind of a, I don't know. Are you still there?
Jake, I can't hear you, so I'm going to text you right now because it looks like it cut out again.
No, I was just texting you. Dude, my fucking internet has been doing this shit all day. I don't know what to do, man. Because if this is going to keep happening, like I hate to have to keep starting it and then like we're losing, probably this is unbelievable.
Dude! All right, sorry guys, we had another error here. Jake has apparently really shitty situation going on with his internet.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, do you even remember what the last thing was that I said before the fucking?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no clue what you're talking about.
I was just talking about how cool
the combat maybe
was, and like
sneaking
how
up,
much I really enjoyed the
sneaking rather than the samurai.
Yeah, but
stuff.
I do, as far as the samurai stuff goes, I thought the standoff shit was really cool.
Correct,
because you could do the one hit, kills and all that.
Well, let's both play the game a little bit more before we talk more about it on the show. This podcast is going to take a while to record and edit at this point. So let's move on. And unfortunately, the listeners might get an abbreviated show. News, Jake. I don't know if you saw, but Dreams has an update coming, and it's going to incorporate VR, which means, from what I read, You can create things and tailor the things that you create for a VR experience. However, all things that have been created in Dreams will be VR compatible somehow, which means you just might have like a VR screen to play it on. I have no idea how they're going to implement that or make it work, but this is something I think people have wanted for a while, which is cool. And Dreams is slowly becoming more and more interesting to me as I see things made in Dreams. Jake?
Dreams, it's one of those things where, dude, I have like a weird relationship with these types of games. Like RPG Maker, Dreams, you know, Super Mario Maker or whatever the fuck it's called. Like all these kind of maker type games, they're games that like I love in concept. You know, even you're talking about base building in other video games like Fallout 4 and
like
stuff.
You're happy they exist.
Like I want to get into them. But I don't have the time or the patience to learn the tool set to be able to do these things and come up with something that is interesting. Like when I platinumed the first Doom 2016, I mean, you know, one of the things you have to do is create a snap map level and publish it. And you could do awesome stuff with snap map in Doom. I literally got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm going to try and make something cool. And then like once I got into all the controls and everything and learned all the systems and stuff, I was like, this is too much. And like, I just kind of got the trophy and like left it because it's it's one of those things where I really want to do it, but I just can't.
You can't surrender the time.
Yeah.
I get it, man. Yeah, it's like Farming Simulator. I wanted to love that game, but I just couldn't do it. Speaking of VR, dude, No Man's Sky is getting a horror element update. It's called Desolation, which looked kind of cool. That game is completely VR now, and I have not re-downloaded it to try to play it.
Dude, I have it installed. I reinstalled it on my PS4, and like I'm like as we're talking, I'm watching like a GIF on No Man's Sky's website about this fucking patch, and it looks awesome. Dude, this game has changed so much since I played it. I really want to get back into it and play it.
Because you can play online now with friends. We should both put the VR headset on and start brand new characters in VR.
That might be kind of cool. I don't know. Like, I'm assuming that you can play it in VR and then like play it in not VR.
Multiplayer
with the same
VR.
character. So like, yeah. So like, I don't have to stay in VR if I play in VR.
Right. But dude, that would be really fun if we both started characters in VR together.
It might be kind of interesting. Yeah, I would certainly be.
An online VR game with another person would be really neat.
Dude, this game looks so wild now.
Yeah, it looks cool as shit. I need to get the VR headset on because I think on the last show I talked about how I wanted to play like a space game and just be out of like literally feel like I don't live on Earth. And I think this is the way to do it.
Oh man,
also,
this sucks because like I'm kind of in playing Ghost of Tsushima, but now I just want to play No Man's Sky. But I gotta beat Ghost of Tsushima.
No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky is not going anywhere. Also, it looks like there's Super Hot, a new game for Super Hot came out yesterday, the 16th. It's called Mind Control Delete. The developer came out on a Sony blog. They said, remember, Mind Control Delete will be free for everyone who purchased the original non-VR Super Hot prior to the release of Mind Control Delete. And it says, yes, that means we're giving away over 2 million copies of this game on almost every imaginable platform. For those eligible, your free copy of Mind Control Delete will be added automatically to your PS4 games library after the release. So check out the official Super Hot website for all the details. That's kind of cool. Unfortunately, I only bought Super Hot after it was available in VR, so I don't think it applies to me. But Super Hot was really, really fun in VR, and I don't think you ever played that, did you?
I don't think I've ever actually played it, but I've watched a lot of video of people playing it, and it looks like an awesome VR experience.
Yeah, dude, you feel like Neo in the Matrix, for real. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, because it like the enemies only move when you move or whatever. Which is pretty cool. It's kind of got like a puzzle element to it. And
you're dodging bullets and stuff.
Right.
It's really cool.
So this new game, it's not a VR game?
No, I believe it is a VR game. And it's a non-VR game and a VR game. I think it's available in VR from what I understand. Maybe it's not VR. I don't know. I didn't get clarification on that. But they started off trying to make like a roguelike for this that's non-linear. And from what I read, and then it morphed into something so much more. And it's a very nonlinear experience, but if you can get through it, then it unlocks additional challenges and you can try it again with a different take on how you're going to try to beat it. And like, it just seems really cool. And they said that like they set out to do something, they achieved it, and they think everyone's going to be super stoked on it. So I don't doubt that it's awesome. So I'm sure it's going to be cool. Mind Control Delete. So while you're looking into that, Jeff Keighley had a Summer Game Fest developer showcase. It happened. He showed off some new games. We also got a sneak peek at the DualSense. Jeff Keighley had a hands-on DualSense little promotional thing. Did you watch any of that?
No.
He showed some stuff. He actually had it in hand. He played the Astrobot game that's coming free with all the PS5s. He played like one of the levels that they tailored for him. And it was just like one of those things that Sony does. Like here's our new controller. We're going to show you all the different things this controller can do. And we had this game to show off what the DualSense does. And it's probably going to be like an introductory game for anyone who buys a PS5, just to kind of brag about what they have implemented into the controller, like the haptics, the different feels. They even have like a built-in mic into the controller now. So, you know, in the Vita, sometimes on the Vita, like you have to blow and it does stuff. Like, so they have the same concept with the controller now. Like you can blow into the controller and it blows like windmills in the game. And, you know, they're using the touchpad and they're, you know, just shit like that they're kind of showing off on the DualSense. That they some of the parts of I think the Vita that they implemented into the controller now for the PS5. But I really was curious to feel how the rumble and the haptics and all that stuff works and feels. So I don't know. It was kind of interesting to see that. He said the controller is significantly larger, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable and it feels like it's just a little more weight to it. So I didn't know if you'd watch that or not. But going back real quick to Tsushima, dude, the actual island of Tsushima, it's like a tourist page. They're like promoting the hell out of Ghost of Tsushima,
really,
which is hilarious. Yeah, I've never seen anything like this. And if you go to the tourist page, you can make a reservation to visit the island. And there's historical information about the Mongol invasion of Japan and the Komoda Beach invasion, which Komoda Beach is actually located in Tsushima. I just thought it was really interesting how they're looking at the game and they're using it to their advantage in a way. And there's all kinds of screen grabs of the game. And then it says like spot real Tsushima and has these different locations, Wadadumi Shrine and all these different locations you can click on, you know what I mean? And it's like all these different locations that exist in the game are actually on this island. And you can book reservations and check out Komoda Beach and all this stuff, which is really interesting. It would have been really cool if Seattle would have done something like that for The Last of Us. You know, like, oh, by the way, this game's based in Seattle and here are all the landmarks and locations. But anyways,
right.
I digress.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have been kind of cool, but The Last of Us is a little bit kind of dark and dire. I mean, not that Ghost of Tsushima isn't doesn't have its own level of heaviness to it, but it's a little bit more kind of arcadey and actiony and kind of powerful. And
like you said, the environments and stuff are portrayed really pretty, and I'm sure the island's beautiful. You know what I mean? I'm just sure it's really nice to be there. There's a lot of stuff to see and stuff at Tsushima.
Right.
But if Sony wants to pay for an all-paid vacation for both Jake and I to go to Tsushima and hang out for a week,
be dope.
We're open to suggestions. Yeah. They also, and Sony announced they have plans talking about the DualSense, man. At some point in the future, disclose alternate PS5 controller color schemes. I'm still sticking by the fact that the controller they showed was an all black controller, even though they didn't confirm that. They didn't show it, but I mean, it looked all black to me. Anyways, I don't really care about different color schemes, if I'm being honest. I guess the white and black looks fine, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I guess... Dude, I don't know. I've seen a couple of mock-ups of black versions of the PS5, and I'm like, fuck, man, I wish they would release a black version of this console, because it looks so much better to me with like a black controller.
It looks less like a modem.
Dude, and that one like concept art that we were looking at, I think it was at one of our shows or something, that was like the fucking black and red one. It looks so awesome. Like, it looks so much better than the white one that they're releasing. But I mean, I know white's a big thing, especially nowadays in
it's clean,
in tech and,
chic.
Consumer products and stuff like that. But for me, it's just like, I want this thing to look as small as possible, and white doesn't make it look small. It makes it look big. So,
right. Cause it stands out. Yeah.
But and it gets dirty too. Mine's going to be covered in dog hair. So I don't really want it to be visible, but I digress. I mean, we've talked at length about, how I feel about the console's design, but
I can't wait to see people's Cheeto fingers all over the DualSense controllers, like the white controllers.
Oh yeah.
And Dorito fingers and like potato chip fingers and barbecue rib fingers. They're gaming and eating at the same time. Those controllers are going to get so nasty so fast, those white ones.
Yeah, it'll be a fucking controller gate 2020. The people will be complaining about how their controller is staining too easy because of...
There's going to be memes that like the PS5 controller is like perpetuating COVID because they're just so nasty looking and they're clearly not disinfected. Anyways, PS5 pre-orders appear to be restricted to one person when the pre-orders go live. Someone took a look-see. Apparently, according to Push Square at the JavaScript on the PlayStation official store page, and there's a disclaimer indicating that it's going to be restricted to one per person for pre-orders.
One per household, they said. I don't know if that means one per person. I guess maybe it does.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, I mean, what if like you're buying one for your family member or something like that,
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. And they also, Sony came out and indicated that they're not going to just all of a sudden drop the pre-order out of nowhere. We're going to get a heads up on when it's going to go live before it goes live. So no need to stay glued to the internet to be alerted. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's good.
There's only one other thing I really needed to talk about today. And I just wanted to make sure we got a podcast in. I mean, we can talk about the games coming real quick and anything else you want to talk about, but we did get a look at Far Cry 6 and I watched the trailer finally. And I mean, these trailers, they don't really expound upon what the game's going to be like, at least from what I've seen. And it was just like this warlord giving a grenade to his son who's like building a model car, and he puts the grenade in the kid's hands and he pulls the pin. He explains all the different 4 parts of the grenade and he goes, now listen, the pin just keeps, the thing from triggering or whatever, so as long as you keep it held tight and keep it together, it's not going to explode. Then he pulls them out to the rooftop and there's like all these riots going on. Just like you, someday you're going to be president. And if you take your people and you keep your hands tight around them, you won't have this. And there's all kinds of riots going on. And he goes, you know what to do. And then the kid's like, looks like he's getting ready to throw the grenade or drop the grenade on everybody. And then it just says Far Cry 6. So I don't know. I've been on and off on the Far Cries. I've only ever played 1 or 2 of them. I know you seem to like them quite a bit, but are you interested at all in Far Cry 6?
The problem is that I loved Far Cry 5 so much, and I really liked Far Cry 3 too, or 3 as well. I've actually played all but 2 of them. I didn't play Far Cry 4, and I didn't play Far Cry Primal, but I played 1, 2, 3, and 5. 3 was awesome. It was like the start of the modern Far Cry formula. 5 to me was like perfect because it had this, it was like the setting that I loved, like the mountainous, like Rocky Mountain country, United States of America. A lot of the philosophy and ideology in the game revolving around, and like the culture in the game revolving around rural communities really kind of resonated because we're from a rural area. So you kind of felt a lot of that when you were playing it. A lot of like the tongue-in-cheek stuff you was able to get a little bit of a kick out of because a lot of it is, resonates. The story was heavy, but it kind of like hid behind, it didn't necessarily hide behind, but it was like a heavy story, but like there was all this, the game like just organically gave you humor to kind of balance it all out with just the way that like you'd be walking around and all of a sudden somebody would get mauled by a bear or like, all this crazy environmental shit would happen that would just add humor to the game, or maybe some of the characters, just the story, the way that this one looks, and the way that they're describing how you're like a member of the resistance. You're not just some like random Joe like you are in all the other Far Cry games. Usually you're like some tourist or something and you happen into the area and then you get drug into this battle. You know what I mean? But like, it seems like in this game, you're starting out like as a member of the resistance. I don't know. I hope it it's an evolution on the Far Cry formula without taking the heart out of it, which is like that kind of comedic element. Because they've always had like really kind of fucked up and crazy stories, but there's always this really kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of like joy factor that you get out of playing these games and just running around the world and exploring and, you know, jumping vehicles off of cliffs and random shit, you know. And I don't know if this game is going to embrace that, because the one thing that has me a little bit concerned is that they talk about, because I didn't watch the trailer, but I watched a kind of what we know so far kind of video about it. And they were talking about how because this country is war torn and because of, you know, trade issues or whatever, they've kind of been cut off from modern civilization for the political structure has kept the country cut off from the world at large in terms of modernization for a couple decades. So everyone's driving like these old ass cars and like using these hodgepodge like weapons that they crafted and all this kind of shit. And it's just like, I don't know if I want to play a Far Cry game where I have to like build my own weapons and shit like that. Like in Far Cry, you could always upgrade by like putting a new scope on your gun or whatever, but it was like, they gave you a tool set, like a weapon set, and then you could improve on it by doing these tasks or whatever. And maybe they're going to keep that. It's just they seem like in this trailer that you were going to be like, oh, you've got nothing. You're basically armed with a fucking flintlock rifle and driving, you know, some 1940s piece of shit car because the country's been stuck in the Stone Age because of this whole political thing. So you have to kind of like make it happen and like come up with your own shit. And I'm just like, that could go either way for me. It could end up being really fun and awesome and lead to these like really crazy Far Cry experiences by you making these really bizarro weapons and shit like you would sometimes see in a game like Fallout, for example. Or it could go the other way and just like kind of suck a little bit of the fun out of it, where if I have to just sit down and fucking make every single thing that I want to use to be effective. I don't know. I guess a little long-winded about it. You know, I think that I'm always excited to see a new Far Cry game, but generally, like, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. Usually it's one of those things where I wait until it comes out, see what it's actually like, watching gameplay and stuff like that, and then I'm like, okay, I'm all in, and I buy it, and I love it.
Yeah, they don't ever really seem to offer much new except for location, right? That's always the big thing. Like, where's the next Far Cry going to take place?
In the last you're right. I mean, it's been a lot. You know, Far Cry 1 was completely different. It was just a linear, like, first-person shooter story. Far Cry 2 was this open world thing, but they made it like super hardcore where you could like burn down forests and, you know, you had to like perform surgery on yourself if you got wounded and shit. Like it was, your gun would jam. Like it was really hardcore.
More like survival.
Yeah, it was like too far. And then Far Cry 3 kind of found that perfect balance. And then they've been using the same formula since then. With the exception of maybe Primal, but I don't know. Maybe Primal uses the same formula just with like rocks and shit because you're a caveman.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyways, dude, there's some games coming out this week on the PSN, according to Push Square and the PlayStation blog. July 20th, we get Little Town Hero, One Dog Story, Trine Ultimate Edition, and Ultimate Racing 2D coming out on the PSN. July 21st, Rock of Ages 3, Make a Break. July 22nd, Creeks. Jake, I don't know if you remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about all those indie games that got released, those trailers.
Yeah.
Creeks was one of them. That comes out July 21st or 22nd. July 23rd, Super Toy Cars 2. And July 24th, Max and the Book of Chaos. And then another game called Tannenberg. I don't know much about any of them. The only one I know of is Creeks because we talked about those games.
Which one was the Creeks one?
I want to say it was the one that had like the weird aesthetic to it. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. So
it was the puzzle game.
Yeah, so this is like the adventure
like
game,
like Machinarium.
Yeah, okay, I get it. I'm looking at some images of it right now. It's got that like watercolor kind of look to it, and it's like
it looks cool.
Yeah. It looks interesting. This is the kind of game, it's not going to be fucking on Vita, but this is the kind of game that I would enjoy playing on Vita, you know?
Yeah, for sure, dude. But yeah, the art style is really cool. It looks like an old children's book or something. I don't know. I kind of like the way it looks. Looks like something that like I would have been into reading as a kid, like the visuals. Jake, I don't really have anything else, man. This is a short episode. We had a lot of technical difficulties. I just didn't want to not do a podcast. And there was some stuff to talk about. The PlayStation stuff, with the controller, the DualSense, and then the VR stuff that's coming. We both played a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima. Want to let the listeners know that we both have it, and we'll probably be doing a more detailed talk about that game when we finally get a chance to dive into it. I don't have any gigs planned this upcoming weekend, so I'm going to have a little bit of downtime this weekend coming up to play it, which I'm looking forward to. Do you have anything else you want to talk about, man?
No, I think that it's kind of nice to have these kind of truncated, I don't want to call it truncated podcasts, but something that's a little bit more to the point. We can talk about the things that we're really interested in and not kind of focus too much on, the random news that we maybe don't care too much about. Plus, we're both kind of busy and everything. And it's nice to kind of stay with it, stay on it and keep doing it every week. And it's not
overdo it just to do it.
I don't want to do a 2-hour episode every week like some podcasts do, but I want to be able to kind of keep getting stuff out there. I mean, I don't know if people are listening, but I hope so.
Yeah, well, I think the thing of the podcast, it's fun for us. And like I said, we were going to talk about maybe a guest coming on the show. I haven't really reached out to the possible guest yet or not, but when I do, we will let you guys know. It's just one of those things, Jake. The reason, to harken back to episode 1, the reason you and I ever even did a podcast was because we were like the only 2 friends out of our group of friends that even played PlayStation. So we found ourselves at the bar or whatever, just talking about gaming stuff. And I was like, man, we should just do a podcast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for us to talk about stuff that we're not genuinely interested in seems to be a disservice to the show and what we're about. So, yeah, we're not going to touch on stuff unless you guys specifically need us to. And typically we're not breaking news for anybody. And I guess maybe we are if you're listening and this is the first thing you heard about something. We're not intentionally breaking news, but we do like to talk about the news a little bit and give our opinions on stuff that's going on. And we are a little bit dialed in to the universe of PlayStation, and we're excited to discuss our opinions. We've been gamers for a really long time. So yeah, once in a while you're going to get a shorter episode, and we offer no apology. It is our show, and it's kind of what we wanted to do. So this is what we have for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we will be back with you next week. That is the plan. And I guess until we see you guys later, like Ace Combat 7, Alien Isolation, and Axiom Verge.
P.S.
This is awesome.